So, what really gets you out of bed in the morning? Is it a passion you can't wait to get to, a paycheck, or, just that fear of being late? Motivation, it's basically the engine of our lives. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? Today, we're going to dive into something called self-determination theory, which is this really powerful way of understanding what truly drives us to learn, to grow, and just to flourish.
Okay, let's start with a real head-scratcher. We all tend to think that if you want someone to do something, you should reward them for it, right? I mean, pay a kid for good grades, give an employee a bonus for extra work. It seems like simple logic. But what if I told you that sometimes adding a reward can actually backfire, that it can totally extinguish the very spark of interest you were trying to encourage in the first place?
And listen, this isn't just some abstract idea, it's a real thing. Back in a classic 1971 study, researchers saw this firsthand. They took people who actually enjoyed solving puzzles and started paying them to do it. Well, guess what? Their natural motivation just plummeted. As soon as the money was gone, poof, so was their interest in the puzzles. This one weird result is pretty much what launched this entire field we're exploring.
So this puzzle led two researchers, Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, to develop self-determination theory, or SDT for short. And it's a total game changer in how we think about this stuff. Instead of asking how much motivation a person has, SDT asks a much better question. What kind of motivation is it? And believe me, that one little shift in the question changes absolutely everything.
This brings us to two big buckets of motivation. On one side, you've got what's called controlled motivation. This is your classic have-to motivation. You're doing something to get a reward, avoid a punishment, or because you'd feel guilty if you didn't. Then on the other side, you have autonomous motivation. This is the want-to motivation. It springs from your genuine interests, your values, and a real sense of choice.
And here's a really powerful way to think about it. A metaphor that inspired the guys who created SDT. Ask yourself, are you an origin of your actions, like the author writing your own story? Or are you more like a pawn on a chessboard, just being moved around by outside forces? That feeling of being an origin, that's the absolute core of high-quality autonomous motivation.
Okay, so where does that origin feeling even come from? Well, according to SDT, it's not random. It's fueled when we satisfy three universal psychological needs. Now, don't think of these as just wants. Think of them as essential nutrients for your mind, just like a plant needs sun, soil, and water to grow.
These three needs are the bedrock of the whole theory. The idea is that they're innate, they're universal across all cultures, and they are absolutely essential for us to grow, feel good, and develop that awesome high-quality autonomous motivation. So, let's break them down.
First up is autonomy. And yeah, this goes right back to that origin versus pawn idea. It's our deep need to feel like we're in the driver's seat of our own lives, that we have a say in what we do. And it's not about being totally independent or a lone wolf. It's just about feeling that sense of choice, that you willingly stand behind your actions.
Next, we have competence. This is that feeling of, hey, I'm good at this. It's our need to feel effective and capable. It's not about being the #1 best in the world, but it's about feeling like you're making progress, you're growing your skills, and you can handle the challenges that come your way.
And finally, number 3 is relatedness. This one's huge. It's our fundamental need to connect with other people, to feel like we belong, and to know that we care about others and that they care about us. It's all about having real, meaningful relationships.
And here's the bottom line. The world around us, our schools, our workplaces, our families, can either support these three needs or block them. When our needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness are met, we feel energized, we're engaged, we thrive. But when they get blocked, well, that's when you see poor performance, that feeling of alienation, and just general unhappiness.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. It's all about doing things for fun versus doing them for rewards. But SDT is actually way more nuanced than that. I mean, think about it. Most of the things we do in life, like doing chores or paying taxes, they're not exactly a thrill ride. The theory accounts for this with a whole spectrum of motivation.
So check this out. On the far left, you have amotivation. That's when you have zero will to act. Then you get to external regulation, pure carrot and stick. Then a little better is introjected regulation. That's when you're motivating yourself with that inner voice of guilt or shame. But as we move to the right, motivation gets more and more autonomous. Identified regulation is when you do something because you genuinely see the value in it, like exercising for your health. Even better is integrated regulation, where that behavior becomes a part of who you are. And then, all the way on the right, you have pure intrinsic motivation, doing it just for the love of the game. The real goal for ourselves and others is to help move along this scale toward the right.
All right, so this is a really cool theory, but what does it actually mean for us, in our daily lives?
Well, the awesome thing is that these principles have been applied pretty much everywhere, from schools and hospitals to the workplace, and the results have been incredible.
So here's a big one, the types of goals we chase. The theory makes a distinction between extrinsic goals, things like money, fame, and having a perfect image, and intrinsic goals, like personal growth, deep relationships, and contributing to your community. The research shows again and again that people who chase intrinsic goals have much higher well-being. And why? Because those are the goals that actually satisfy our basic needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The impact of this is just incredibly broad. This framework is being used to get students more engaged in school, to help people stick to healthy habits, to boost athletic performance, to make therapy more effective, and, of course, to build workplaces where people actually feel motivated and excited to be there.
And look, this isn't just some feel-good idea. It's backed by some serious data. For instance, get this, a massive meta-analysis, one that looked at 184 different studies in healthcare, found this incredibly clear link. When doctors and nurses support a patient's autonomy by giving them choices, explaining why a treatment is important, it directly feeds all three of those psychological needs and leads to significantly better health outcomes. It just works.
So, we'll end by turning this back to you. I want you to think about your own life. Whether you're a student, a parent, a boss, or just a friend, where can you create an environment that supports autonomy, competence, and relatedness for yourself and for the people around you? Because according to the science of self-determination, that's the real path, not just to better performance, but to a richer, deeper, and more meaningful life.